Here's what Miss Cookie Williams is saying here. She's got something. It says, I have $159,000 left on my mortgage, 12 years, 7 months, 2.875 interest, but I just took 120K HELOC and paid debt and gave 15K to my son as a gift to close on his home. What next? All right. What's next, Miss Cookie, is you now owe interest on that HELOC. You also have a mortgage that you still owe on. And here's what's next. Here's the question. And I don't really expect an answer, but you want to know, how much interest do you have left to pay on both loans? Because what my interest rate actually is has nothing to do with how much interest I have left to pay on the loans set up the way they are. So unless you can answer that question, how much interest do I have left to pay? Then you cannot come up with a strategy to pay less interest, because you want to know how much interest you have left. Then you can figure out how much interest can you save. Okay. So Ms. Cookie, can I show you one answer? It's not answering your question, but I did answer that question for the investor that we have on the screen. So let me show you here. Let's go back. All right. Now, here's what this investor now knows. Once we started with them, okay, here's what the bank wanted: $1,123,195 in interest. We're going to show that same investor, without using monies that the investor has earmarked to reinvest. We're not touching that money. We're going to show that investor how to pay only $231,468 in interest or less. Boom. Do you know, let me tell you something. Even though this loan is 5%, for this investor to pay that little amount of interest on this loan, do you realize his interest rate? Let me highlight that for you. His interest rate would have had to be 0.067% if he got this loan from the bank and they were going to charge him $231,000 in interest. So with the P.I.L.L method, we can make that 5% loan, where he's paying all of that interest, perform like an interest rate of 0.67%, less than 1%. Less than 1%. So that means that is an interest savings of $891,000. $891,000. And he knew this going in before we even started. Okay. He knew how much interest he was going to pay. I was telling him how much interest he would actually pay, how much interest we're saving him. And I also showed him how much interest he had already paid, which was a ton. And not only that, Miss Cookie, we give him a written guarantee that if we don't perform at this level, he doesn't have to pay us at all. Pay us nothing if we can't do this. If what I'm saying is not true, it turns out not to be true. If he's following our program, he's going to get this result or even better. Most of my clients, over 90% of my clients, get better than what we predict. Some of them get exactly what we predict, but a lot of them get a lot better than what we predict, or we don't bring them on as clients because we guarantee their results in writing. So here's what's happening. Now, he's got 21.9 years left on this loan. By the time we get through with it, he's going to be able to pay it off in 4.9, because the money he is no longer paying in interest. More money can go to principal, again, not using any of the monies he's designated to reinvest. Now, I know some people, that's one criticism that we get from real estate investors. Don, I would much rather reinvest my money than use that money to pay down a loan. Yeah, but we never said use that money that you were going to reinvest to pay down the loan. Take that money you're going to reinvest and reinvest it. There is another way to save interest, and we're going to go over that today. So let's talk about this, folks. We're going to save them 17 years. Okay, 17 years. Now, what does that mean? I need you to watch this. I need you to watch this. Okay. As we pay down this loan, he's getting equity, doing it the way he's doing it. But when he follows our program, look over here in the blue. Okay. A year from the day we started, he's not at $2 million he still owes. He's only at $1,845,000. He's got a lot more equity for a lot less interest he paid. The next year after that, he's not at $2,071,000. He's down to $1.4 million, $1,409,000. So he still has more equity. A year after that, instead of being at 1.9 million, he's under $1 million that he still owes. Okay. He's already $1 million ahead in equity after 3 years. After 3 years on our program, he's $1 million ahead on equity. At this point, what if he wanted to refi? He can get a percentage of that $1 million out. Do you see how long it would take normally to get down to just $1 million? It would take between 12 and 13 years doing it the traditional way. Doing it our way, he has an extra $1 million in equity in just 3 years. Oh my goodness. Does anybody have anything to say about that? On the P.I.L.L method, he has way more money available sooner. And this is so when you go to refinance, you can refinance sooner, get your money out, but it doesn't cost you as much interest to get that. We're cutting his interest cost by almost 80% to get the same equity. Folks, that's what we're talking about when we talk about iceberg. When you're talking about, this is interest cancellation. I'm called the interest cancellation expert. So when you include the interest cancellation expert in all of this, you get your equity faster and cheaper than what the bank is doing for you.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.